That's so much out of like we just talk.
Okay. Check, check, check. Okay. And okay, let me just check with the people in my chat and see um do you have Okay, I'm just asking chat here. Yeah. Okay. I haven't gotten a reply yet. I'm hoping that it's working. Not sure why this media source isn't working. Give me a second here. Yeah, hop on my channel. So it's at fuzzy. Yeah, it's at Fuzzy Road to Health, just like it's spelt down below in white there, but all one word. So like that. So youtube.com/at Fuzzy Road to Health. Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay. That's what that is. Okay. Are you hearing your own voices or just mine? Yeah. Yeah. Talking away. But the question is, are you hearing your own voice or are you hearing Mark's voice? 'Cause I'm using my local mic, but I don't. It all the voices are coming through though. Uh, okay. Let me see if I can solve that. Just give me a second. Let's do an audio output capture. Default.
This technical delay is brought to you by beef. Ribeyes all around.
Let me see. It's not letting me select output from a browser, just actual microphones. This isn't the one I want. Okay.
Else is sick and fucking.
That was a slip of the mouse there. Yeah, we love her. I can listen to her every day. One day I'll send it to you, Dave. It's beautiful. One of the best carnivore rants ever.
Okay. Let me see. Video capture. Video capture. Well, this is really odd.
Yeah, I've got your channel, Dave, on my phone. If you need it, I'll just turn the volume up because I don't, the delay is gonna backlash. But whenever you let me know.
Yeah. Yeah. Still trying to. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, I got a whole bunch of them in here now. They're all arguing with each other.
It's like building an IKEA furniture with multiple people, right? Like everybody, let me do a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me check my Zoom capture here. Sorry for the folks that are maybe still trying to watch on my channel. I'm gonna have to switch screens. It's gonna look funny. We got
actually
Noah.
Lambs, man. He's the man.
Oh, here, I'll put it
laughing. He's like,
I'll put it in studio mode. Then I can mess around without it messing with what you're seeing.
Sure.
Okay.
It's like
Zoom capture. That's good. Yeah, it's not. Okay. Properties. Yeah, see with Zoom it just passes through the audio. I don't have an issue. I don't have this issue with Zoom. So
Yeah.
it might be like a deliberate thing that they're doing with StreamYard because they don't want people doing this. They want people streaming probably directly from StreamYard. Yeah. Yeah, this is unfortunate. Wait a second. Say go ahead and say something.
I will say something.
I think your voice might be coming through now.
Okay, let me confirm.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear it. We're good.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't think I could solve it, but I accidentally fixed it. That was a complete accident, folks. I'm good, but I'm not that good. I've only been doing tech since 1981, so I should be able to do this stuff.
Well, that's good. Huh? That's good. At least it gives me hope. It gives me hope because when I have these freak out tech issues, it's like I don't know what to do. Start pressing buttons and magic happens.
Yeah, I just got confirmation from other people on the stream that it's all working now. So
awesome.
Cool.
Amazing.
So I can drop back out of studio mode. Okay. All right. So where were we? Where were we before you rudely interrupted us?
You were talking about the keto diet.
Yeah. You keto. Yeah. You plateaued, and then you were just about to. Yeah.
Yeah. So I discovered the video with Dr. Barry. Knew it was the right thing and started and then I'd gone into remission with the osteoarthritis and the myasthenia gravis, and one thing after another started healing. Slowly over time my eyesight started getting better. I used to always have to wear glasses on the computer. Now I don't need them on the computer anymore. And the first day that happened, I was really confused because I was sitting there at the computer and everything's blurry. And I couldn't figure out, why is my eyesight different? Why can't I read anything with my glasses? Took my glasses off and it was crystal clear. And I was like, what? Go figure. Yeah. And
amazing.
It was just, I also noticed that my mood swings were getting a little less from the bipolar disorder. I still had them, but they weren't as bad. And then I noticed at about 4 months, there was a bigger difference. And then 6 months carnivore, I realized I hadn't had a mood swing in a while. No bipolar episodes. Haven't had one since. Just completely gone. And back in 2019, I had a CT scan on my lower back. And they'd been working with me for a couple of decades, waiting for me basically to lose enough weight so that they could do surgery and that I could heal afterwards. So I had three ruptured discs in my lower back, and I went and got another MRI for confirmation in like last year. So I'd been carnivore about 6 months. Went and got an MRI, and the 3 discs were back. One had a tiny bulge left. The other 2 were pristine. And
wow,
I was stunned. I mean, I didn't realize that was possible, and that was pretty stunning. And there came a day when we took the wheelchair back. I'd had one custom made, but in Canada, like in Alberta here anyway, we have an organization that they fund most of it, so we only have to pay 10%. But then if I no longer need it, I have to return it. So we returned this giant wheelchair that fit me when I was 540 pounds. So we returned the wheelchair, and then we immediately put us on the list for getting a normal apartment because we were in a wheelchair accessible place, right? So the day that we moved, which was over a year and a half ago, the day we moved into a regular apartment was huge. That was a signal of my life change. Dreams that I had long abandoned were back on the table. I was able to start working on the computer again, which was amazing. And now I had gotten so far behind on like computer programming and web design, online programming and all that stuff. I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't pick it up again. So I went on to something else. Now I do like video editing and stuff. So I'm actually still on disability. The video editing I do on the side. I've got a few clients. I do some freelance work. I also do some like special effects.
Might have another one after this.
Yeah. So I got into that and kind of got back into tech that way. I first started making tech tutorials because friends were calling me looking for help when they heard I was back in the game, but I couldn't take them through it just naturally on the phone like I used to. So I made a video and showed them how to do it, and they liked it. So I started a YouTube channel. And then when I started the carnivore journey, I went, I should maybe take that knowledge and start another channel and follow this. So I did that and then slowly started building stuff up. So I've got the YouTube channel, I've got a page and a group on Facebook and a website and all that stuff now. So just trying to be part of the solution for all these issues Amazing. We're having with disease and food. Trying to be part of the solution.
Yeah. No doubt. Well, we had a little chat before this. It's nice to see.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've gone through a lot, and I get some people will tell me, "Oh, you must be so strong," and I'm like, no, not really. It's not like I had a choice. I mean, it was happening to me. I had, I had to live through it. It's not like I had any choice. It's not like I'm strong or special. I had to go through this stuff. I had to learn the lessons. And now I've got more knowledge and more empathy, and I'm in a position where, maybe I can help somebody here and there. So.
Wow. Well,
Let's do that.
Like this story, and as much as it's powerful, I'm not surprised, to be honest. Like I'm not, because all these body's ability to heal when you just take that step, and then however you find the carnivore diet, we can argue if it's. I think a proper human diet is the thing you might have to battle with, but we can't. All three of us. I mean, obviously, it's clear. We've seen things happen, and I've been told the same thing. Oh, it's you're genetically gifted. And it's like, I just magically became genetically gifted at 45 years old. Like what happened in my 30s, like what was going on? And we hear it over and over again. Instead of listening to your story, Dave, people try and make it a one-off or try and make it, it's luck or you. And how do you feel about that? Because I'm sure you get some people.
I certainly get a lot of that, a lot of pushback, people trying to save me because I'm going to kill myself with a heart attack in 6 months, that kind of nonsense, like almost 2.5 years ago now, but sure. Okay. I'm in the best health I've been in 30 years, but yeah, I'm worried about a heart attack. Sure. Okay.
And can I ask a question, David? What did the doctors think when they seen you a couple of months later? Like what was the feedback?
Well, it was interesting. My family doctor, he immediately was trying to save me. It's like by the point, like I just switched doctors. The old doctor that I had that wouldn't take me off the morphine, he closed his practice and started working exclusively in the ER. So I got transferred to another doctor. And so this other doctor, he hadn't seen me when I was 540 pounds. He had seen me when I was maybe about 380, somewhere in there. I think that's about when I started seeing him. And, you know, I was trying to tell him, you know, the changes that had been happening and that kind of a thing. And he was like, "Oh no, we got to get you on some statins, and you got to get off all that meat and fat. You know, it's going to give you a heart attack. You're going to die of a stroke in 6 months." And I'm like, yeah, somehow I don't buy that. You know, I've got all these changes. You know, I used to be bedridden, now I'm walking, and you're telling me that I'm damaging my health? I don't think so. And you know, it got a little tense with me and my doctor there for a while because, you know, he was finding all these medical issues that still hadn't healed yet, and wanted to put me on medication. I'm like, no, I'm going to try something else. You know, I'm a big researcher. I'm going to see what else I can find. So, you know, a couple months later, I go back to see him, and whatever that issue was, I had figured out how to heal it. And he started to realize that I might actually not need as much of his help as he thought. And when I finally solved my thyroid issue with natural mineral supplements instead of his drugs, I think I almost broke him. But you know, one of the things that really opened my eyes about medicine here in at least Alberta anyway, but probably Canada as well.
Yeah.
You know, I actually brought him in some research, the newest research on that was debunking all the nonsense about meat and fat causing heart issues and plaque buildup and that. So I stuck it on his desk. I said, "Here's the research that I'm basing my life on, and why don't you take a look at it?" He picked it up, tossed it in the garbage. He said, "I'm not allowed to."
Wow.
The Alberta Medical Association, they have a list of the places he's allowed to get information from and apply in his practice. If he goes anywhere else, he can lose his license. And that's the insanity of our medical system. Oh yeah, it's absolutely nuts. The insanity in our medical system. Yeah.
Sorry, I've never. Uh-oh, we're getting a little delayed. Anyway, sorry, I've never said this. I lived with 2 doctors during the pandemic. You fought the whole time. That was exactly what they said. That was exactly what they said. We can't. We need to. We can't use it. And so that's a Canadian thing. Welcome to Canada, boys.
Yep. Well, and Tony and I were discussing before the Zoom that here in Canada, they actually sneakily pushed through a law around pandemics. So the next time there's a pandemic, they've got a law in place to outlaw meat production in Canada, Canada-wide. Trying to have processing meat will be illegal. And they even tried to add people not being able to butcher on their own farms, but they couldn't push that part through. But the big meat processing plants, they'll all be shut down during the next pandemic because they know that meat is what heals people and keeps them safe. And they don't want people having another way out. They want to force them into the medications and the path that they want you to be on. And it's very unfortunate. I know some people might think I should be wearing a tinfoil hat, but you can look it up for yourself. It's on the government website. So yeah, you just go to the Government of Canada website.
I will second that being from Canada. It's like, if anybody out there is thinking that this is nonsense, go on to the government website, look up, I can't remember what bill number it is. It's right there in black and white. And I think I don't know if it's got royal assent yet, but how our parliamentary system goes, this is what their plan is. It's obvious. Like Dave and I were talking earlier, it's hidden. This is the agenda. And, you know, it's in my opinion, they don't want us eating meat because I agree with you. It's because they know how powerful it is. And I'm sorry, you want to talk conspiracies? I don't care. It's clear because we hear stories like yours, Dave, and your experience. Why aren't we looking to you for guidance? Why aren't we just instead of just trying to prove you wrong, let's listen to how right you are, And yeah, I find people don't do that. And it's pretty scary.
One of the things I find kind of sad is I don't know how many times I've run across people that they had known about me being bedridden and really sick, and then they see me out walking around and losing. I've lost 240 pounds so far. Actually, more than that now. I'm back on the weight loss thing. I was stuck for the last few months, and I've been trying something new, and it's working. So, but yeah, lost a lot of weight, and it's certainly made a huge difference, and people notice. And then they're like, well, geez, I've got all these problems. How did you fix this? And then I tell them. And then they're like, oh, I can't give that up. I can't give up bread. I can't give up vegetables. And then they start trying to tell me how much you need vegetables and all this. And I'm like, hey, I'm just telling you what I did, what's working for me and hundreds of thousands of other people around the world. But it's up to you what you want to do. Maybe when you get sick enough, you'll come and talk to me again. But
you know what? I call it bread face. People say stop eating bread, and they look at you like it's not the bread. Like there's no way. I'm like, you think you're eating bread when you buy that packaged stuff that's like it's bread face. They just look like I have IBS. Stop eating bread.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, it's nuts, the stuff that they put in this food. I mean, yeah, it hasn't been actual bread for decades. What we're eating is basically an edible oil product because seed oils, when they're heated, turn into a long chain polymer. So you're basically eating plastic. And you've also got all the other chemicals that they're putting in that food and all the additives. And they like to put in things like methyl cellulose in bread.
Yeah.
They put that crap in everything. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yep. And that stuff. I mean, I discovered about the time I went keto. At the same time, I discovered that I couldn't have gluten. So I was already getting off of bread, and that was helpful. But it wasn't until I gave up the last of the plants and the last of the sodas. It wasn't until I gave that up that things really started to heal. And the bottom line is if you're sick enough and you've got enough motivation, you just might be willing to try something that mainstream considers radical. And there is actually a ton of new research out there that debunks the old paradigm. But every time one of those studies comes out, legacy media brings out one of the old studies that new study just debunked and pushes it. They double down.
Yeah.
And most people buy into it. And it's really unfortunate. And
that's the power of Walter Willett, right? This guy is the most cited whatever nutritional researcher, and the whole list. And if you don't think this guy is ultimately powerful and controlling the narrative, it's just naive. Just look on all these studies. His name's there, every single one of them, and they just get recycled and used in different words. And
it's meta-analysis on meta-analysis, huh? And so it sounds fancy, but it's actually rubbish.
And that's hard, people. That's T.H. Chan School of Medicine that we all trust and love, right?
Oh, I know. Those epidemiological studies they trot out. I mean, you can make correlations of just about anything. They prove absolutely nothing. They may hint at something that gives you a direction for research, but that's all they're supposed to be used for. And if you don't do a randomized control trial, you're not doing a proper, real study. You can't prove cause and effect without an RCT study. It's just the way it is. But on top of that, you add that big scandal that came out a few years back in the peer review circles. So they had found a bunch of people that it came out that they've been falsifying these reports. They were being bribed, paid off, and they had to withdraw over 100,000 papers over about a 6-month period because they were completely false. And there are legacy media outlets that still publish those studies. It's absolutely insane what they're doing with this.
Crazy.
They are
Crazy.
I mean, big agriculture, big food companies, big pharma, they're all pushing as hard as they can. They're lobbying, and they don't want us getting off their gravy train. And they're doing everything they can to stop us.
Industrial health complex.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, just look at us here, like all of us with our stories. I mean, Mark's getting people pregnant. Peter's like kicking ass with his type 1 diabetes. Everything that you've resolved in the world, you know, and I have somebody telling me you can't reverse type 2 diabetes. I'm like, I've done it.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, that's you. Like, what? Like, you know, now I'm teaching people how to resolve their diabetes. And people say, well, I went to the doctor. He said, don't bother because you can't. What? You know, it's like, but I did, you know? And it's unbelievable. And it's unfortunate because once people start opening up their eyes to the possibilities and actually healing and feeling this, that's where, you know, and it's almost like they need to take that leap of faith, that nudge that is really, really, you know, for some people really tough. And I get it. You know, Dave, I can't even imagine in your position where you were at with your health, you know, with those thoughts about, you know, something, this is it, you know, but look at what happened. Unbelievable, you know, and if that's not inspiration for some people, you know, and that's, you know, obviously our message, we're trying to share this with, just listen, you know, just listen.
Just look at David's picture. That's all you need to do. Just look at his pictures. Look at his before picture and look at him now. He looks incredible now.
Yeah, I look at a picture of me sitting in the wheelchair. Yeah, if you look at a picture of me sitting in the wheelchair, there's another one. If you go to my Facebook, there's another picture of me sitting in a chair with all my rolls of fat hanging out, sleeping. And it looks absolutely disgusting. And I was only 480 pounds in that picture in the chair. And, you know, so imagine 60 pounds on top of that. Yeah, it was... I mean, life was pretty rough. I mean, people would see me coming and they'd be like, damn. You know, Can I ask
a question, David? Before how did you feel? Like, did you understand what was going on when that started? Like, you were eating nonstop. Could you actually pinpoint what was happening at that particular stage?
No, I had so many drugs in my system that, you know, I knew I was alive and not a whole lot else. I mean, though the extreme doses of hydromorph that I was on, they just kept me out to lunch all the time. I couldn't retain anything. If my wife managed to get me up and I watched a movie on TV the next day, it was like I never saw it. I couldn't remember it. You could show it to me again and I wouldn't recognize a single scene. That was how bad my brain was at the time. The brain fog was unbelievable. So yeah,
fat's bad for you, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, at that point they weren't, you know, I wasn't in those types of discussions with doctors. I do remember the specialist that actually diagnosed the myasthenia gravis. He's actually considered one of the foremost myasthenia gravis specialists in the world. He's developed some of the newest treatments that are being used. So consequently, he's pretty full of himself. He's pretty arrogant. And he fired me as a patient when I asked about vitamins or alternative therapies one too many times. He wouldn't have it. He would yell at me for talking about it. Like he was an absolute well, I won't say that, but
no, just for that, just, you know, we're on a little bit of a delay. We apologize for anybody that's listening. We're kind of on a tech mission today, but what Dave is saying here, I just want to reiterate, guys, we're not doctors, we're not scientists. This is medical advice, but we're just showing you explaining a different side. And I think it's very important to know that we're not trying to dog doctors, but when Dave's got his experience, this is just what happened. And it's very upsetting that this is very common. And I think that's a lot of times like trying to explain to people that you almost need to take this in your own hands. You need to look at everything. I'm not saying don't listen to doctors, but look at what happened with you, Dave. Like, how did that make you feel when you were like with the doctor confrontations? Like, how did that inside? Like, what was your what was going on in your head?
It was pretty frustrating. I mean, I had actually had myasthenia gravis when I was 12. I was diagnosed with it then. And my mom took me to a specialist on Vancouver Island, in Victoria, actually. He was a naturopath. And he put me on a very restrictive diet and lots of vitamins. And I went into remission in about 6 months, and I stayed there for almost 30 years. This was part of the reason it took them such a long time to diagnose me, because it was I don't know for sure, but I think it was in my file that I'd be diagnosed once before, and their attitude was that the doctor that originally diagnosed me had to be wrong because you can't possibly go into remission with vitamins, right? That was their attitude. So I think it was in my file where it said, no, he didn't have myasthenia gravis. His doctor was wrong. So they weren't even looking there. And I mean, they were telling me everything else. I mean, they said I had MS, like when my speech started to slur, they thought it was MS. So then, because of just nonsense here in Alberta, I had to wait 2 years before there was an MRI machine available big enough that opened up that. See, part of the argument was, at the time, Alberta Medical was split into North and South in Alberta. And the only machine that was big enough was in Southern Alberta, and Northern Alberta didn't want to pay for it. They didn't want to pay for my scan. So I had to wait until a new medical facility got constructed that was right on the border between North and South medical districts. Wow. And then the Northern Alberta Medical would pay for it. It was just insane. So I waited 2 years while I was getting sicker and sicker and sicker for them to confirm that I did not have MS. And then they were telling me, oh, maybe it's ALS. Well, when they said ALS, I freaked, because I knew personally someone from church who was diagnosed with ALS and was dead less than 6 months later. And I watched his progression. Yeah. Oh, and at that, when that pronouncement scared the ever-living crap out of me. And then I got another specialist. I got a new doctor, and he actually did a thorough examination for once. He spent 2 hours with me going through my medical history, talking about stuff, doing tests, doing questionnaires, all this stuff. He actually did a proper medical panel on me for the first time in how many years that I've been going through this. And that's when he referred me to this myasthenia gravis specialist, and then he confirmed it. Now, that specialist that fired me as a patient, he didn't know it at the time. He did the biggest favor he could have done for me, because the new one that I got, the new neurologist that he sent me to, was one of his proteges. But she had a background in Oriental medicine from her family. So she was more open. It's not like she practiced it or anything. She didn't do anything like that, but she was more open. She knew that Western medicine doesn't have all the answers. Yeah. So
I'm a big fan of traditional Chinese medicine. I hear you.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Yeah. I mean, and she was very open with me, and she let me try stuff. I'd say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. What tests could you do to see if it's working? And then she would order the test. And then when I thought I was ready, I would go and get the test. Right. So she was very good that way. And she made sure that I always felt comfortable having her check stuff out before I decided to do something. The only time I didn't do that was when I went carnivore, because everything happened so fast. I made the decisions so quick, and it takes so long to get in to see her. And when she saw that I was in full remission at 1 month, I could hear it in her voice on the phone. She was stunned. And then she's like, how did this happen? And then I told her, and she says, I'm supposed to tell you that that's dangerous, but I can't. And it's working. Keep doing what you're doing. Talk to you later. And then she wrote a letter, because I wasn't going to be able to have surgery unless I could prove that my myasthenia gravis was in remission. So she actually wrote me a letter for my family doctor and for the surgeons and everything, saying yes, he's in remission. Myasthenia gravis is no longer a factor.
David, I was listening to your story, and so impressive changes and big weight loss, and I heard you talking about being on keto and that you ended up at the weight loss stall. But I was wondering if you would explain to people, why did you have to go carnivore, and why was keto not enough? What was the reason why carnivore was that last step that solved all the issues?
Well, I as on keto, I was still eating some plants. I was actually eating a fair amount of plants, to be honest. And I was still doing something I shouldn't have been, which was drinking my sodas. I loved my soda.
Oh.
I used to have a lot of issues with what's the word? Nausea. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. I used to have a lot of issues with nausea from medication, so I got in the habit of drinking ginger ale because it would settle my stomach. And then that became an addiction. And yeah, before I started keto, I was drinking, 6 or 7 cans of soda a day. Once I went keto, I held myself to 1 or 2 cans a day, but I was still drinking it. That was probably a factor. Now, I did finally quit the soda about 2 months, the last 2 months of keto. I did quit the soda. And I did lose a little bit more weight when I did that. But then it stopped again, and I wasn't healing any further. I mean, yeah, I was feeling a little bit better because of some of the other stuff I was doing, but I still had the main myasthenia gravis symptoms. And it wasn't until I went full carnivore that everything started to heal. And once it started, it was fast. Now, has everything been sunshine and rainbows? Absolutely not. I've still got issue. I've got this issue with my neck. I mentioned it earlier. I'm not sure if it was the ankylosing spondylitis or the Sjogren's disease, but one of them caused a bone spur to migrate down into my disc, so between C6 and C7, and it pinches nerves in my hand, in my right hand here. So if I'm actually working on the computer using the mouse and keyboard and stuff, I have a time limit of about an hour before I can't click the buttons on the mouse anymore.
Okay.
So, not everything is healed. There are some things that will require surgical intervention. So I've actually got a final CT scan in just a few days, and then they'll determine where and when I get my surgery after that.
Okay. What did, when you say you went carnivore, what did your diet look like when you made the switch?
Okay, the first 2 days I was carnivore. I was finishing up the avocados that I had, so I did eat avocados the first 2 days. Other than that, it was mostly ground beef. It's cheap, and we hadn't figured out the thing about that carnivore is actually cheaper than regular groceries once you get into it. We didn't know that. So a lot of hamburger the first couple of months, and then we were able to start picking up other things, chicken and fish and steak and that kind of thing. So, and it slowly built up over time as we learned how to shop, and we were buying, we stopped buying all these sauces and condiments and all this stuff. The grocery bills actually got smaller as long as we weren't trying to eat ribeyes all the time, right? If we, probably 80% of the time I eat ground beef. I get them done up in 1.5 to 2 pound packages. I make a single patty. I stick it in the air fryer on broil. I've got like a big giant, it's like a Ninja XL Pro. So it's like 19 liters
I think I have the
capacity.
same one,
Yeah, it's wonderful. So I stick it in there on broil. It makes it
Burgers
taste much
this
better
big.
than just regular air fry. And flip it once, and I've got a big giant burger. I throw half a stick of butter pretty much on it, like about 2 ounces of butter on it. So one meal usually adds up to just over 4,000 calories, and I
Wow.
lose weight with that. So, and I have lost a lot of weight at that. And I mean,
That's for all the
now
people
I'm,
in the back. That's for all the
yeah,
people in the back.
yeah. I'm OMAD about 50% of the time. For those who don't know what that is, that's one meal a day. But the other half of the time, I eat twice a day, so I'm TMAD. So, it just depends on how I'm feeling that day. I listen to my body. If my body is craving more food because it wants to heal something,
Yeah.
I don't ask why. I just know that I'm craving more food,
That's
so
it.
I'll have another meal, right?
Yeah.
But many times, I'm OMAD. It's not like I don't get hungry by the end of the day. I mean, yeah, I get hungry. There's no doubt about it. There's some people that seem to be able to go all day without being hungry. When I first started carnivore, it was like that for me. Probably the first 3 months, I was OMAD and I was never hungry. Sometimes I had to force myself to eat. Matter of fact, when I first started, I was having trouble with all the fat. I would sit down with a plate and I would get nauseous and want to throw up. And I got taught a trick. So somebody on one of the groups, I had posted about it, and they said, "Well, try this." So what I did is I let the meal cool to room temperature, and then ate it. And then slowly over a period of a couple of weeks, I ate it slightly warmer until it was finally right off the stove again.
Okay.
And that worked. When it was
Yeah,
room temperature, the
I
fat
know.
didn't bother me. I could eat it. And then I just slowly
Yeah,
built
I
up. And
know.
as I
I
became
know.
fat adapted, I started to crave the fat.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Mark, you had something?
Yeah, I noticed that as well. When I did my bodybuilding competition 2 years ago, I used to eat my food cold, and it made a massive difference, huge difference. And someone actually said it to me in the Facebook group and said, "Okay, if you're struggling with your hunger and your body fat is too low, then try eating it cold." And
That's
it was
interesting.
incredible. It was incredible. Like it switched it off straight away. I was eating about 4 or 5 bites, and then that was it. Then I was done. I couldn't eat anymore.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I
Yeah,
find too is when I eat raw, I eat less because I eat raw stuff
yeah.
sometimes, and I find if I eat raw liver, it like an ounce or two of raw liver, and I'm not like everything about me wanting to eat after that is done. It's weird. It's really weird. And if I eat a raw steak or steak tartare with raw eggs, it's way less than I normally do, which is kind of that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you in the back, the nutrient density of regular meat is incredible, and you compare that to the nutrient density in plants. I mean, plants we can only absorb around 4% is bioavailable to us, and the rest we can't process. And then the deficits that we create in our body and our nutritional balance by eating those plants is what does the damage. And
Yeah,
it's just the
and
way
this is
it works. And there is absolutely nothing that your body requires that you cannot get from meat and fat, and maybe some mineral supplements if you've got extra issues like I do. You don't need
yeah.
plants. There's nothing in a plant that you can't get from meat. It's the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And plants. I saw a great post today. Somebody laid it out really well. All forms of life on Earth have defenses of some kind to defend themselves. Now, most animals, they might have teeth or claws or like humans, be able to punch somebody or use a tool, right? Plants do not have that option. So plants can't run away. They can't put up their dukes and fight you, right? They can't use a tool. At least I've never seen a plant use a tool. But what they do have is chemical defenses. Now, those chemical defenses they don't always harm humans, but most of the time they do. Now, there are some plants that have beneficial toxins in them. So I'm unlike many carnivores in that I still believe in plant medicine.
I agree.
It works,
100%.
and I'm perfectly happy using what works. I don't care where it comes from. If it works, it works. It doesn't matter to me. And that's just the way I feel about it. And you know, when I had COVID, the reason I was only sick for 3 days is because I was using medicinal mushroom extract.
Yeah.
And that particular one that I had that time had 7 different medicinal mushrooms in it. That's why I got better in 3 days.
For a reason.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I'm a
I'm
big
doing
believer in that homeopathy, plant medicine, Ayurveda, TCM. They have these, and what it comes down to is God and Mother Nature were so perfect. They have all the answers here, and you know we just need to find them, and that's the difference. Plants for medicine, not for food. That's in my opinion.
Yeah, so I mean, that's you know, from time to time, I'll use it. I mean, we had a bad flu go through here. I usually don't get sick when stuff comes through, but it was a few months back, and I was a little bit run down. I'd been kind of stressed. I'd been doing lots of stuff, and I got really sick with a bad flu that my wife brought home to me from the hospital, and even the mushrooms weren't working, so I had to actually add another natural medicine that my wife found. Actually, she brought it home, and it was a combination of fermented ginger, um, garlic oil, and a couple other things. I don't remember all the stuff that was in it, and it was very spicy. Like when you drank it, you drank this little bottle of it. But wow, did that stuff work? It triggered my eczema and psoriasis like crazy by the time it made me better. But it made me better. You know, I got over the flu, and as soon as my wife and I started taking that stuff, we started healing pretty quickly. So, you know, plant medicines work. There's also something called chaga, which is like a fungus that grows on birch trees. And that chaga can help with migraines and stuff. You can also take a fungus that grows on willows, and you can take a little piece of that fungus and you can burn it and inhale the smoke, and it'll usually kill even the worst migraine in a few seconds. So I mean, there are powerful plant medicines out there, but on the same on the same coin, you know, the other side of that coin, you've got all this harm that all these accepted vegetables and stuff, which have no relation to what they started off as. They've been completely rebred into something else. And, you know, they didn't take any care to breed those toxins out of them. And part of the issue today with plants, especially fruit and vine grown vegetables, any of that stuff, it protects its seeds from being taken prematurely with heavy loads of toxins. Yes. And once the seeds are viable and ready to sprout, then it flushes the poisons out through its root system. But if you pick that vegetable or fruit before that process, when you pick it green, you leave all those toxins in there, and then it's concentrated and built up in your system when you're eating this food. So for those of you out there who may not want to do full carnivore, if you may want to do keto, if you're going to eat fruit or vegetables, make sure it's either vine ripened or grow it yourself if you can't buy vine ripened. Luckily, where I live, there's a couple of greenhouses you can buy vine ripened stuff out of, but we don't do that. I mean, but you can.
We don't. I'm a big proponent in seasonal, local, and you know, nature. If I don't have fruit on the tree, you know, I know you probably in Grand Prairie in Alberta, you probably see a little bit more heavy winter than I do here in Vancouver, the rain city. But it's the same. I don't trust their vegetables and their fruit.
Yeah.
You know, if you go to the supermarket,
it's entirely possible it might get a little colder here than in Vancouver. I think last winter we had, I think, about a week of minus 45. So yeah, it was a little chilly.
For all the international people, David lives in real Canada. Vancouver is the rainy offshoot of like moderate climate. It doesn't get nearly as cold here, so just that's why we're having a little laugh.
Yeah, I live in the north, so yeah, like right now, I live far enough north that it starts getting daylight here now. Like this morning, it's you started being able to see light in the sky about 4:45 a.m. And it doesn't get dark until about 10:30 right now. By the time the summer is at its height, like June 21st, it'll start getting light at about 4 in the morning, and it won't get dark until midnight. So that gives you an idea of how far north I live.
Yeah, I'm a little bit a wee further south and coastal, right? So David, what's your diet like now? Like how are you eating? What are your how are you navigating it now? Like the evolution of your carnivore diet?
Well, I'm still pretty typical. I mean, I have more steak and that available now because I've learned how to shop and buy primal cuts and then cut them, cut up my own steaks and roasts and stuff out of them. So I do that. I went and got a big giant breaker knife so that I could do that. It's like a 13-inch Victorinox giant butcher knife. And I've got like a whole bunch of knives now. I've been collecting knives from all around the world almost. So I've got some
awesome. Yeah, that's good.
some pretty cool utensils. But I probably eat about 70% of the time it's just ground beef. Still. It's easy, it's cheap.
That sounds pretty proportionate to the animal, right?
Yeah. And the rest is kind of split evenly between steak, roasts, maybe a whole chicken. I love to spatchcock a chicken and roast it in the air fryer and get it all nice and crispy. So I'll baste it in butter beforehand when it's chilled, fresh out of the fridge. Creates like a butter shell, so you can put in whatever fancy salts and stuff you want, and it just soaks into the meat as it cooks. Oh, wonderful. Sorry, sometimes I get excited about food.
No, you can see all of us are starting to smile. We're like, oh, that sounds really good.
Yeah. Well, one of the interesting things I noticed. Sorry. One of the interesting things
your wife joins with you with Carnivore. I remember you saying that she was a bit skeptical in the beginning.
Yeah, she's tried it. She can't do it. She also doesn't have a gallbladder. Not that that's a barrier. If you do it right, you can still be carnivore perfectly fine with a gallbladder. Because the gallbladder, it only stores bile. It doesn't produce it. The liver produces it. So you just have to make your liver readjust. But yeah, she can't.
Play from them to gallbladder removals. Yeah. Take it out, and then they say you can't eat fat. It's like,
no. Yeah, it just doesn't work that way. So I mean, she does eat a lot of times she'll eat what I cook, but she does a little cat sitting, so she'll go out and she'll still have a regular burger at McDonald's or A&W or something. It's unfortunate she can't seem to give it up. My daughter's the same way. She's been trying to go keto, and she's struggling giving up the sugar. She's so addicted to sugar. She's wanted to try carnivore a couple of times because she's starting to see that she might wind up with some of the same health issues that I had, genetics and all that. So she's more susceptible to certain things. So she's been struggling, and I'm trying to help her get through it the best I can. And she's got a family to consider too. She's got a husband and 3 kids, so can't. It's a little more difficult for them, and they would all have to go carnivore to really make it work. And my son-in-law, I've talked to him about carnivore for his diabetes. He's type 1 diabetic, and he doesn't believe it's possible to do anything with it. And I tried to tell him, look, it will heal type 2 diabetes completely. Type 1 diabetes, you could be a lot more stable, use a lot less medication. And Tony can verify that. He works with patients all the
let me
time
tell
with
you,
for clients.
He's the type 1 diabetic right there. He's type 1. I
Yeah.
was type 2, but
I have never seen a type 1 diabetic on a carbohydrate-based diet that is able to have an A1C below, say, 5.1 or 5.2 and time in range of 90 to 100%. That's just
they're usually up between 8 and 10 for an A1C.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and he wasn't having it. He said, not interested in eating a bunch of meat. I know it can't help. So it's like, well, what can I say to that? You know, not a darn thing.
Or he should go keto at least. That can work as well.
Yeah.
A lot of diabetics don't realize that there's hope.
Well, they get so
sad
brainwashed by the information they're. Yeah, I mean the what is it? The American.
The ADA. Yeah.
Yeah. So the
Diabetes
American Diabetic
Association,
or whatever. They are so corrupt. They are funded by the food corporations. They actually had a person in charge that was keto and was promoting it, and the board immediately fired her. You know, like,
of course.
They're not interested in giving you real information. They give you a bunch of garbage information. They're telling you to eat carbs and, balanced carb heavy meals are good for diabetics apparently, which is complete garbage. They should be sued. It's absolutely criminal what they're trying to tell people with this nonsense.
Well, absolutely. How do you feel, Dave, about Casey Means in America?
I'm not familiar with the name. Oh, okay.
Well, she's kind of against processed food, and we're going to see how long. I mean, she could be our savior, or she could be I don't know. I think she's going to get ousted, or something's going to happen because they don't want you to know this stuff.
I think she's not going to last. I think they're going to find a way of getting rid of her.
Yeah. Anyway, it's RFK's selection for a surgeon general where, they're already saying she's not a surgeon, she's not a real doctor. It's already the slander. And she's just trying to say, hey, man, fluoride in water is bad. All these dyes in food is bad. Let's take them out of kids' lunches. Yeah. You can't do that. What? And it's ridiculous.
Well, I think they just, I saw a video this morning. I didn't actually watch the video, but the headline on it was that RFK just banned 35 chemicals from our foods. So that's good because a lot of the chemicals that are used in foods in America wind up in foods here too. In Canada.
And I mean, and it's funny how 4 guys right here, we just say this is simple. You want to, don't eat them.
Yeah.
Don't eat them. I'm glad they're getting exposed. And I mean, I think people minimize the damages that they cause, these chemicals and these harms. But we know this. Like, it's unbelievable when you're, those people that are reaching for a savior when realistically it should be right here, like inside yourself. You know what, guys? I think we're pushing some time here. David, man, your story and what you've done is, I don't even have words. I think everybody on the planet should be hearing this and, taking for what it is. And that is, once again, proving our body's ability to heal anything is possible and truly inspirational. And for all of our sakes and the people in the back, share this. Like we love these conversations, and we really appreciate you coming on and talking to us because, it's us getting together as a community. I mean, all of us have done remarkable things. Yours very profound, and it's nice that you can actually come and share and be a good role model for some people that need some hope. So and I'm just for the people on my channel that hear this. I think Dave and I are going to have a little Canadian consultation in the future. We're going to talk about some carnivore Canadian issues that we have. We're going to put on our tinfoil hats and we're going to get really, really into it. But David, where can people find you? How can people reach you? And let them know what you're all about.
Okay. Just before I get to that, I want to give a shout out to my buddy Dwayne. He popped into my chat on the YouTube channel. He's actually my god brother, and heck of a nice human being. And he's had so many issues that he's been healing with Carnivore. He was just telling me that things are kind of difficult in his house because there's 4 adults, and you know it's hard for him to stay carnivore, and he's been struggling. So I just want to say, hey man, I hear you. A lot of us in the community deal with similar issues. There may come a point where you just have to sit them down and say, look, it's my health that's at stake here. And I need you guys to help me out and not bring a lot of this food into the house that is difficult for me to leave alone. It can be a difficult conversation. I mean, I had to have a similar conversation with my own wife, and I had to say, look, you know, if you're going to be eating this other stuff, try not to bring all of it home. You know, bring stuff home once in a while, but you know, try to keep it away from the house as much as you can, because if it happens to catch me in a weak moment, it could be a problem. You know, I had a bout with dairy. I got into dairy there for a while. I was missing some of the old foods, so I wanted to learn how to make carnivore sauces and, you know, all this fancy stuff, right? Carnivore cheesecake and chaffles and all this nonsense, right? Well, it darn near blew up my program. I started craving sugar. I found myself drinking big mugs of honey lemon tea, and I was just going off the rails with addiction. And I was like, okay, no, this isn't going to work. So I had to cut out the dairy again. So, I mean, there are all kinds of things that we have to watch out for as carnivore. Some carnivores can get away with dairy, others can't. What the heck's his name now? I was watching a video this morning. Oh, his name escapes me. He's the carnivore guy that does podcasts from Japan, and he's done
Mac,
like
Dave Mac.
12. Yeah, Dave Mack. So yeah, he did a video, and he announcing that he's officially given up cheese. That used to be one of his main food groups, was cheese on his meat.
Yeah.
He stopped doing it, and he noticed a big difference within a few days. And now he's never going to touch it again. So, you know, some people can get away with it, others can't. And I'm one of them that absolutely cannot. You know, I can use butter, but nothing else. I mean, people need to understand that milk is full of lactose. Lactose breaks down into a sugar. And milk also contains casein. Now, casein is an opioid-like substance that is addictive. Now, in nature, that's meant to make the calf addicted to drink more milk and grow faster. It does the same to humans, right? It affects us the same way. It hits the same addiction center of the brain. So dairy can be extremely addictive. Between the sugar and the casein, you can get addicted real easy, and then you get caught in a cycle that's hard to get around.
It's happened to me. It's like carb creep.
Yeah.
It's dairy creep for me.
Yeah.
I drink a little milk. Ooh, that was good. Let's do it again. And then I'm like, oh, shit, I'm drinking milk 6 days a week, and it's like,
yeah. And we won't even talk about the dangers of milk from the grocery store that's pasteurized. That's terrible stuff.
That's a whole
it's
so
even
people
worse
should realize that if you drink half a liter of milk, you are already above the ketogenic limit. So that contains 20 to 30 grams of carbohydrates, and they are fast carbohydrates. I can see it on my glucose monitor. It goes up like within 20 minutes, and then a little bit later you'll get another spike. But yeah, that's highly addictive for the casein and also for the insulin peaks.
Yeah.
Well, that's
if you want to
something
learn,
that we'll have Dave back to talk about.
Yeah.
Where we could go for days about
dairy, that'd be cool.
Sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about this stuff, you can check out some of my stuff. I cover some of this stuff on my channels. Probably the best place to find me is, you see how I've spelt my name on the little white box under my name there, that title, so Fuzzy Road to Health. If you just take out the spaces and go fuzzyroadtohealth.com or www.fuzzyroadtohealth.com. I got an issue on my server that I got to fix. You have to have the www, or it gives you a weird warning and won't display the page. So, but yeah, go to that website, and there's all kinds of information in there. There's information about my story, nutrition information, natural remedy information. If you go to the contact page, then you'll find links to my YouTube channel and my Facebook stuff. So, I think there's actually links there for my Instagram too.
And we'll post all your stuff. I'll talk to you after, and we'll get all your stuff on the description, because for all the people that weren't live, this stream is going to be, I'm going to push this to every single plant eater on the planet. That's what's going to happen. If you think the broccoli is good, we have a problem with it. Peter, any last words? Any last comments or anything you want to add? We can't hear you.
I just want everybody to realize that this is happening. I mean, these are stories of us four guys, but there are lots of more stories on our channels. Yeah, Dave Mack we talked about. And these things, yeah, they changed our lives. And yeah, don't be scared about all the things that you hear in mainstream media and things also that you read in science. I mean, be critical and yeah, listen to these stories and ask questions about how can this happen while we hear all these other yeah, science, so-called scientific information about nutrition and health.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have any doubts that it works, hit up Dave Mack's channel. He's done over 1,200 interviews of people that have healed from carnivore, like over 1,200, and he's just hit a fraction of them. When I say there are hundreds of thousands of people that have healed with carnivore and keto in our community, I'm not exaggerating. This isn't hyperbole. There are literally hundreds of thousands. I wouldn't be surprised that it very soon crosses into millions. Because I've noticed since I started carnivore, the space has exploded. It's absolutely, the growth is exponential right now. And I'm very pleased about that.
That's what I'm doing at the moment. I'm focusing a lot more on interviews at the moment. I've done a lot of social media, but now I'm focusing on exactly what Dave Mack is doing. I'm just getting people on, and I just want to hear their carnivore story. That's it, simple.
And Mark, that segues into where can people find you? And you know, there's a lot of stuff. Mark's doing a lot of things, and we're gonna make some announcements with his like international carnivore celebrity status soon. But we'll get on all our ducks in a row before we do that. But how do people find you, Mark? And any last things? Mark,
you can find me at. No, I just it's incredible, David. I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Still.
Okay, Dave. I just want to say thanks very much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. I've heard your story a few times. Your story inspires me. I'll be in touch with you very, very soon. And if people want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me at Fitness Beyond Time 01. I'm on social media on Instagram and TikTok. And if you guys want to send me an email, you can send me an email at ennismark93@gmail.com.
Well said, brother. And I would implore you to check out Mark's Carnivore Evolution podcast on Apple, Spotify. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. We will get this all organized and multi-platform soon. We're just in the middle of taking it to the next level, and we do appreciate everybody's support. Please like, subscribe, and share this. You know, all of our stuff. We're going to put Dave's stuff in the description for the replay. And, you know, we are live. We are the meat of the matter. We're live Sundays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. in the UK and Ireland, 7 p.m. in the Netherlands and most of continental Europe. You know, everybody, stop doing the bread face. Start eating meat and fat. And come see us. And if you need to find me, you can find me all on obviously on Food for Thought. Tony _Food for Thought on social media, or check my website out at TonyStewartCoaching.com. these guys matter. You matter. And we appreciate everybody showing up. Lambs, shout out to you, buddy. Thank you very much for supporting. I know it's a weird impromptu Thursday. We will see you Sunday for sure. And we will talk to David and appreciate it. David, thank you so much for sharing your time and your story. We really appreciate it. And if you want to just hang on, we'll
my
end
friend.
the stream. Awesome.